Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn, and in this video I'll be making cards using the Pink and Main September 2021 Crafty Courtyard kit. This one was called Pumpkin Season, and let me quickly just show you the 4 cards that I will be making. This isn't one of my flip videos, so these are going to be mostly layered cards, and I did need a lot of thank you cards, so I did have to introduce a couple of things outside of the kit in order to get the sentiment and the look that I want. But this final card here strictly uses contents just from the kit. So most everything is from the kit. Let's dive into the first card. So I've already used this cut and emboss folder from Crafter's Companion. They have a collection of everyday sentiments, and then they also have a collection of holiday sentiments that are very similar in that there's a word that's cut out and some embossed design. What's cool is with the with each set or each collection, the font that they've used is actually the same on all of the folders within that collection. And I don't believe, I'm fairly certain anyways, that the fonts aren't all the same size, because on some folders there are longer words. But when the Everyday collection went on, I think it was one of the clearance sales, I was really eyeing it, and went ahead and bought the full collection. I think there are 6 possibly, and between the 6 different ones, folders, you actually get most of the letters in the alphabet. And so I'll not only be using the panel that's been cut and embossed, but I'll also use the letters that actually fall out of that. So you get a little bit of double duty there. I'm going to back this with black as a little bit of a drop shadow, just so that the pattern paper that did come in the kit comes through. And of course the pattern paper is 6x6, but I'm working on a panel that will go onto a 5x7 card. This pattern, as do a lot of the papers, it does repeat. So you'll if you look for where it starts to repeat, you can cut an additional little section to to actually fill in the rest of the word. And here I'm just going to add a couple of strips of white cardstock, just because we have 3 layers of paper going on in the back there. So I'm just trying to level it out a little bit more so that it's closer to being flush than it was previously. But as I was saying, with the pattern paper, if you look for where it repeats, you can just snip the section that you need to continue the pattern. And what's great about using it in this application is that there are some natural breaks between the letters, and so you really can't even tell that the pattern paper is multiple pieces. So then I've used my Dymo label to just punch out a little sub sentiment. So this will say, the full sentiment will read, "Thanks a latte." And I thought it would be perfect to add one of the little cups. Now, one thing with this is that there is a separate stamp that will stamp the contents of the cup, but it has little what looked to me like marshmallows floating on the surface, and you can actually see the teal and brown colored cups that I have off to the side there. And this is coffee, so I didn't want the brown floaty bits, so all I did was I just smushed out some of my ink onto a silicone mat, and then just colored that in with some ink. And of course you can color it in with any medium that you have, but this way I've got that nice coffee look without the marshmallows in there. And then just to make this element have that nice shine, I'm using some diamond glaze. Initially I thought maybe I would aim to just have it on the mug, thinking, the mug would be maybe something a little bit more shiny, but I thought it would be too hard to try to only glaze the mug, so I glazed the whole thing. So here again, I'm going to do the same thing where I butt up this pattern paper. I need a strip that to go across the entire panel, at least the brown panel. And again, this is a 5x7 card. My brown panel there is cut to 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, so it's a 1/4 inch shy of the full card base. And I didn't necessarily go for an exact repeat because I would have had to cut into the paper a little bit too much to find the exact spot when it starts to repeat. But I found one that was close enough. And I think once everything else is on the card, it's going to be hardly noticeable. So now I've got my letters that fell out of the cut and emboss, and this one is the black version that I just used as a shadow layer on the first card. And I'm taking some of the vines that you can stamp and die cut, which, by the way, I am loving that Pink and Main is starting to include coordinating dies. Well, I don't know, maybe they've been doing that for a while, but I initially, when I was evaluating kits to subscribe to, they really had a stamp set and then a separate but useful die set. They didn't necessarily coordinate at that time, but nowadays it looks like for the most part you do get the dies to actually cut out your stamped images. So I'm taking the vines, which you have a fair number, I think 4 different sizes and shapes. So it's really cool because I'm just taking those and wrapping it around my letters just to make it look like the vines are growing around these letters, which these letters I think are really ornate and perfect for that look because they're so curvy in some areas. And so I thought that was kind of cute, and I drew some inspiration from a Crafter's Companion stamp and foil set where they have the full alphabet and they have a floral design that's you can stamp out that will be intertwined around the letter. So I took that as inspiration and used the vines to kind of intertwine around the letters in this case. So then I'm going to make a little bit of a pumpkin patch. I'm using what look like to me wheat stalks, and so I've stamped those out in a couple different colors, and I'm just using whatever inks I have. So I know that the pumpkins are a yellow hybrid ink from Nuvo. The shaded portion of the pumpkins is Rusty Hinge, which is a distressed oxide. And then the greens I pulled from 2 Nuvo hybrid ink cubes that I've gotten in kits, and a green ink cube that I've gotten from one of the Papercraft Society boxes. So just pulling inks from my stash. With the pumpkins, what I did was I inked up the first time with the yellow, and then I went for a second inking, sometimes in yellow if I needed or wanted to intensify the yellow. And then finally I inked just the bottom edges in the Rusty Hinge to give it a little bit more shadow. So that way you get almost the effect of a little bit of shadowing, a little bit of shaping, but it's still really easy, way more easy than if I were to try to color it. So really love these solid stamps, and they're really easy to actually even line up because I think they're rather forgiving. So I was stamping, even though I was doing multiple stamped impressions for each image, I just did it with a stamping block by hand. I didn't even use a stamp positioning tool or anything. So that is my second card complete. Now onto my third card, I've got, I do want to, I forgot to give a little bit of a disclaimer. First, let me show you this. It's a new a 3D embossing folder from Sizzix. It's by Eileen Hull, and it's the most realistic knit sweater pattern that I have ever seen. It looks so realistic. The folder, it was meant for an A2 size card, and this is another 5x7 card. So you will have to kind of run it through the embossing machine twice, but I found that when I do that, at the bottom I get this little ridge where it's pretty obvious that it didn't all go through in one pass. But I actually, at the end of the day, really like that, because sometimes, at the bottom of your sweater, you'll have that little bit of extra detail. So I think that actually lends itself to making it look even more realistic. But going back to the disclaimer that I wanted to give, I actually pulled papers from my stash just to try to work through all of my scraps. So I'm not exactly using the specific papers that came in the Pink and Main kit, but I pulled from my stash the same color palette of papers as near enough to it as possible. So you'll be able to, if you wanted to, recreate or create something similar using the colors of the solid color cardstocks that did come in the kit. But I wanted, instead of cutting into a fresh sheet, I just wanted to use up some scraps. So that's my little disclaimer. For the oval here, I actually used one of the nesting essentials dies from Spellbinders, and I'll be sure to, if I can still find the products, I'll link to them in the description box below in case you're interested in checking those out. But I'm just going to create a little single pumpkin here, and then I don't know why I didn't think about it till now, but I decided to pull out my 3D Collal glue in order to give these pumpkins some shape. So instead of gluing it down completely flat, I've put some of the glue gel in the center to kind of create a little bit of a dome. And on the sides, it's a little bit more flat, and I added a little bit of dimension to the acorn as well. So then moving on to my last card, this is a 5x5 card, and I'm actually just using card bases from Crafter's Companion kits. So that's actually how I'm choosing my card sizes. So I've die cut this circle that I think is it's 3.5 inches in diameter. And what I'm going to do is just lace or kind of position these ivy segments around the circle die cut, and on the bottom I'll have 3 pumpkins, so I'm not worried about getting the ivy to go all the way down to the bottom. But I'm gonna stamp one of the sentiments that came in the stamp set. So this one is, I think, Hello Autumn, and so, or Happy Autumn. And the first stamp impression was stamped perfectly. These are photopolymer stamps, so they're really great. And you always get a nice clean stamp. I just wanted it a little bit darker since the lines are so thin on this font. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to actually place down my pumpkins, again using some 3D Collal glue. From the reason why I'm squeezing it out from the bottom is because I don't think I closed it tightly, and so it started to actually harden and dry up, and I can't squeeze it out from the top of this tube. So I just cut a little slit from the bottom, and then I'm gonna try to use as much of it as I can because it's not gonna last too much longer with that slit cut in there. Thankfully, it was mostly already used up anyhow. Okay, so then I'm gonna kind of do the same thing that I've been doing, where I'm using these wheat stalks as a little way to kind of anchor or make a little bed for my pumpkins. And I'm going to continue to just fill out this I guess it's a wreath of sorts of ivy, and I'm gonna just add these to make it a little bit more full, make it a little bit more dimensional, and then uh, not that acorns grow on ivy like this, but I just decided I wanted to have a little bit of a different color kind of interspersed throughout the ivy, and the acorns I thought would be great. So not super realistic to how you would see them in nature, but maybe consider it like a wreath that you would put on your door. Okay, so then I'm gonna continue to fill this out with some ivy or these little vines growing out from the top of the pumpkins, and then usually I like to work in threes, so since the brown of the acorn is such a strong color, having it in 3 spots around your card will naturally let people's eyes kind of move from those 3 brown spots, and that should kind of should move their eye across the entire card. So that's why I've kind of positioned them in that sort of triangle formation. Okay, so then here's a final recap of the 4 cards that I made. And I had a lot of fun. I mean, I did sit down and do all of the inking and die cutting before sitting down to make my cards, but that process actually went really quickly because you just stamp them one time. Since these are solid stamps, you don't have to do any coloring. And with the pumpkins, I did stamp maybe 2-3 times, but all the same, it was a lot faster than stamping an outline image and then coloring them in. So I was able to actually produce way more little bits to work with than I needed, and I had a lot of fun kind of arranging all of these little pumpkin sort of scenes. So a lot of fun. I didn't use the coffee mug as much as, or the hot cocoa mug as much as I wanted, and there are tons more images that you can use too, because there's the cupcake, there are the candles. I just wanted some fall theme cards and some thank you cards, and I thought with Thanksgiving around the corner, having a little pumpkin scene would be perfect. I hope that you enjoyed these cards. Thanks for watching, and if you feel inclined to do so, please like, comment, and share. And if you want to catch new videos as I release them, hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Thanks again, and until my next video, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye!